Tonight on News 5 Live, armed forces mobilize as Belize enters Phase 3 of COVID-19 vaccinations. Schools begin transition back to in-person learning, and find out how the work to rule actions will affect the government services you may need. These stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
In these challenging times, The one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety, and we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
I was 17 and in love, and I thought he loved me too. But now I know that a loving partner should not take away your choice of clothes you wear or the music you listen to. He should not take away your purse, car keys, or your phone so that when your family calls, you cannot answer. If your partner is controlling you, it is domestic violence. Call 0800 A Way Out or our cell phone number 672-9628. This message is brought to you by the National Women's Commission in collaboration with Miss Universe Belize with funding from the Engender and Spotlight projects.
This newscast is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Tuesday, April 13th. I am Marlene Cuellar. The Public Service Union officially served the government with its notice of a trade dispute on Monday, following a poll of its membership after the government's 2021-22 budget presentation. The dispute comes on the heels of government's intent to freeze increments and slashing salaries by 10% for 3 years, despite protracted efforts by the unions to stave these off. The letter was served to the Minister of Labor by the PSU as the bargaining agent for public officers.
We believe that we're now at an impasse, and we believe that based on the sentiments of public officers, they're not intending to take this one sitting down. And so, having now served the government with a trade dispute and a notice of industrial action, of course, which could lead to strike action within 21 days, we expect that the Ministry of Finance via the Prime Minister's office or the Ministry of Labor, whichever takes the lead on this matter, will be in touch with the union not to see what's the way forward, and of course the intention is to try to reach an amicable settlement that would satisfy public officers as well as the government.
Well, strike action is highly anticipated when the 21-day period expires. First Vice President of the Public Service Union, Dean Flowers, says that a work to rule campaign as an initial form of industrial action has already taken effect. He says this must occur because the unions see this as a fight against economic injustice and a push for good governance. And yes, these actions will lead to greater inconvenience for those who need to access services from public departments.
Effective today, public officers will be working to rule. That means they will be taking their breaks as is legislated. They'll be taking their lunch as they have a right to for an hour. They have a choice to decide whether or not they will be participating in overtime requests. And this involves every single public officer. They are within their right to now decide whether or not they want to participate in any activity that falls outside what is required of them in accordance with their terms of reference and their job description. No? And so we ask for some patience by the general public. We've launched a work to rule campaign effective today, and that continues straight up until 21 days. In addition to the work to rule, we will be implementing additional types of industrial action to ramp up our efforts to ensure that the government takes seriously the joint union team's displeasure with the unilateral decision by the government to cut salaries, freeze increments for 3 years without looking at this thing from a more nationalistic and a macro level that encompasses everybody and not only the workers of the public service.
But with the state of the economy, what are the options available? Dean Flowers says that public sector spending has been driving the economy for over the past decade under the Barrow administration. He explains how the decision on public officers' salaries and increments, as well as other cuts to government purchasing, will have ripple effects throughout the entire country.
But if you tamper with public sector spending, you will cause more harm to the economy, and you will cause more harm to the lives and livelihoods, not only of public officers, but to all Belizeans. If it is that public sector spending is driving the economy, then isn't it logical and common sense for us to know that all small businesses, and especially every single individual in the informal sector, whether it be the mechanics, the food vendors, the market vendors, the bread seller, the bun seller, the pastry makers, those businesses are being sustained primarily by public sector spending. And so when you see the government cutting 15 to 20% off goods and services, and on top of that, cut 10% from the individuals who are responsible for about 40 to 50% of public spending right now, then it's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. You will do harm not only to public officers who are already bearing the burden of the taxes being generated in this economy, but you will also be hurting the private and the small businesses in the informal sector.
Is the People's United Party going on the offensive with the unions? Last week, 3 advertisements were released hitting out at the unions about their positions on the cost-cutting measures. Those ads went so far as to label the union leaders' decisions as political. Today, PSU First Vice President Dean Flowers spoke out against the attack, questioning why government resources are being used to create the ads at the cost of taxpayers. For perspective, we also have a response from Minister Karim Musa during an interview last Thursday.
I want to see categorically through the listening public that under no circumstances can any one of the union leaders influence the kind of membership when you look at the numbers in the manner in which those ads attempt to discredit the leadership of the unions. They're personal, they're vile, they're divisive. And what is sad about those ads is that they're being produced by the state, using the state's equipment, and more importantly, they're being produced by public officers who were recently brought in by this administration. So what the public should be upset about is that their assets, resources, both human and otherwise, and financial, because somebody is paying for them, and guess who's paying for those ads? Certainly not the PUP. The government of Belize is paying for those ads. Those are the things that the Belizean public need to be very upset about.
Looking at the ads, what the ads are basically saying, if you were to ask me my interpretation of them, is that basically government has, for its part, done its part. We have gone to the table with the unions, marathon meetings with the unions, with the leadership, and while it was that we were able to get some sort of consensus at some point, I'm sure you were informed of that as well last week, it just seems as though there is a political game afoot. If we are to be real, we can look at the different union heads and we can see where their political affiliation comes from in terms of knowing which party that they support. And so while it is that it might not be something that you can appreciate at this point in time, it's for the wider public to look at and say, you know what, the government has tried, it has made its effort, and we are in a very difficult economic time, and tough decisions, like I said, will have to be made.
Coming up, find out who is now eligible for COVID-19 vaccinations as Belize enters Phase 3, and why low COVID numbers don't mean it's time to celebrate just yet. Stay with us.
Hello, friends. This is Dr. Bob Roberts with another 60-second sermon from God's Word. The Bible says, "Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand." The first need of man that God addressed was loneliness. God said, "It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet for him." Loneliness is one of man's greatest enemies. Kipling said, "The human soul is essentially a very lonely thing. We are born alone, die alone, and in the depths of our hearts we live alone." None are exempt from the despair of loneliness, though some experience deeper depths than others. Elijah felt alone. David felt alone and forsaken by his best friend. The Apostle Paul in prison wrote, "At my first answer no man stood with me, but all men forsook me." However, no one ever experienced the pain of loneliness like Jesus did. More than once his disciples forsook him. Yet his loneliness was never expressed more painfully than it was on the cross when he cried out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" Bishop Vincent once said of Christ, "He was himself forsaken that none of his children might ever need to utter his cry of loneliness." Today I know not the depth of the pain of your loneliness, but I leave you this promise from Jesus, who said, "I will never leave thee nor forsake thee." So remember, friend, you are not alone. Today's 60-second sermon has been presented by Christian Foundations of Faith in cooperation with the Baptist churches in your area.
COVID-19 has forever changed our way of living and the way we do business. Now, our main priority is to stay connected with our families, friends, work, school, and business associates. Digi wants to advise all customers that we're resuming the suspension of services for non-payment for the current month's bill starting April 2021. Customers are advised to pay their February 2021 bill to avoid any interruption of services. If you're experiencing difficulties in making payments, we encourage you to visit any of our 13 Digi stores countrywide to make a convenient payment arrangement. Payments can also be made at any Digi agent countrywide or online through Atlantic Bank, Belize Bank, Heritage Bank, or National Bank of Belize. Digi remains committed to working with all our customers to ensure that they continue to enjoy the highest quality communication services by providing convenient payment options for all. Together, we will make it through. Digi, our national telecom, here for you.
For the best built tools with the best performance and service, Hilti is the brand you can trust. Our warranty program is second to none. Hilti will repair or replace any tool that breaks as a result of materials or manufacturing defects for 20 years. Get 2 years of no-cost wear and tear coverage, including parts. Hilti, the best tools with the best coverage. Available at Benny's Quality and Savings.
The twin maladies of crime and corruption must not be allowed to fester, for they gnaw at the critical core of investor confidence, befouling the overall environment of doing business. Notwithstanding our harsh fiscal restrictions, government has provided, and I pledge will continue to provide, the resources for a more vigorous citizen and visitor security strategy, complemented always by a robust social safety net for the vulnerable population. In addition, I expect that this year, flesh will be put on the bones of the whistleblowers and the civil and criminal unjust enrichment laws, both solemn undertakings agreed upon with the joint unions during the recent budget consultations, and is in keeping with our manifesto commitment to nurturing the national principles and dignity to public life.
Phase 3 of the COVID-19 vaccination exercise carried out by the Ministry of Health officially opened today. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
Another phase of the vaccination process has officially opened. Effective today, members of law enforcement agencies can now access vaccination stations across the country to get their jab of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine.
In Phase 3A, we have the Belize Defense Force, we have Coast Guard and Fire Services. In 3B, we have persons with comorbidities. And in 3C, we have Red Cross and utility workers, and this means persons that are working in the different telephone companies, the banks, the cable companies, electricity and water services. For persons with comorbidities, we're inviting right now for those who are 50 years and older.
Today, the Swift Hall in Belize City was transformed into a vaccination center, and personnel from the Belize Coast Guard joined the queue of persons who came out to get a first dose of COVID-19 vaccine as an added protection against the deadly virus. For the lawmen, the experience was great.
I had no fear of the vaccine. It was a smooth process. Getting the vaccine, everything. I haven't had any side effects so far, so it's good so far.
I educated myself before even from the time I heard about this vaccine process, and I tried to do some research, and I say it is a safe process. The feeling going into this was nothing for me. Not even nervous. There was even when I went to take the needle, it was just a pinch like nothing. Man, you take out a teeth, that's worse than taking this vaccine.
Getting vaccinated is a voluntary process, and you are not mandated to participate. But it is advised that you educate yourself on the benefits while still adhering to necessary social distancing guidelines.
It is definitely important for us to get vaccinated because with us having a lot of interaction with people, especially being out front, not only domestic but also internationally, we definitely are prone and susceptible to the virus. So definitely we recommend and encourage all of those, even though it's not mandatory, but encourage those under our commands, not only the Coast Guard, but the Belize Defense Force and police officers to get vaccinated.
Continue with the face masking, the distance, the washing of the hand and sanitization, cleaning down surfaces, and keeping the distance, staying at home. as a country, that will keep us safe along with the vaccines. Cannot be because we got the vaccine first, now we should relax these preventive measures.
Phases 1 and 2 remain open, and those persons who satisfy those parameters can access the vaccination stations to get their jabs. Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Some people have resisted getting vaccinated, and the numbers are not as high as expected. But while the vaccination is not mandatory, the Ministry of Health and Wellness is encouraging those within all phases to get their shot as an added layer of protection against COVID-19. Maternal and Child Health Technical Advisor Dr. Natalia Larguespada-Bear says that up to April 12th, close to 30,000 persons have been inoculated.
We have a total of 29,482 persons vaccinated, receiving their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. If you look at it, it's about 1,000, almost 1,000 per day average that of persons that are accessing vaccines. We would like for it to go a bit faster because we do have some constraints, with staff. So it would be nice to get all those who have pending to come out as early as possible.
Over the weekend, 16 new cases were identified across the country and 14 new recoveries. No deaths were recorded over the weekend, leaving the COVID-19 death toll at 318. There are 76 samples that are under investigation and 41 active cases as of April 12th. Dr. Beer says that the numbers are great, but the public should not let down its guard.
With the COVID data, we are still in the phase of the pandemic worldwide, and it's not only Belize, other countries are experiencing a rise in the number of cases, even after reducing number of COVID-19 cases. But it's an opportunity to remind, every Belizean that we all have a responsibility to ensure we keep these numbers low. And yes, the vaccine is contributing to reduce the number of COVID-19, to reduce the transmission, but we need to do our part even after receiving the first dose of vaccine.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness says that the recent sudden death of a man in his 50s from the Belize district is not associated with the COVID-19 vaccine. The family of the security guard alleges that hours after he got inoculated with the AstraZeneca vaccine, he died. Dr. Bear told News 5 today that an investigation has revealed the definitive cause for his death.
Our condolences, to the family. It's not an easy issue to address, and a definitive cause for his death was identified. Autopsy and association with the COVID-19 vaccine has been ruled out.
And this breaking news, a News 5 team is at the Marab compound on the Philip Golson Highway in Belize City, where police officers are currently processing the scene of a robbery. The information we've been able to gather so far from our team is that a trio of men entered the BTL showroom on the compound and robbed the establishment of an undisclosed amount of money and gadgets. While the facility has security, the information to News 5 is that the robbers were dressed in BTL uniforms, and so they were allowed to enter the establishment and carried out the crime. It is not known if anyone was injured in the incident at this time, and we'll have more details on this incident in Wednesday's newscast. After the break, it's back-to-school season like no other. Find out which students are able to meet their teachers in person right now and who still has a few more days of remote learning. But first, here's a look at the latest COVID-19 figures.
We approach the fight against COVID-19 in the way we approach many other challenges, by looking for ways to achieve joint solutions and staying resolved to help our people. I know how anxious we are to see life returning to some normalcy. The COVID-19 vaccine offers our country a reason to hope. We are in this together. I will be safe when we are all safe. I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine. I have taken the COVID-19 vaccine and I urge you to take it too. #GetVaccinated-Belize.
It is my time
to protect your life.
Don't wait to vaccinate.
I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine.
The vaccine is the best way to protect lives.
Don't wait, vaccinate.
Don't hesitate, Belize.
Vaccinate. Be COVID-19 safe.
If you care, love them.
Protect them.
Vaccinate them.
Hello, Belize. You may not be aware of the new travel requirements set in place by the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Passengers traveling to the U.S. must present a negative COVID test or a documentation of having recovered from COVID-19 to travel to the U.S. In light of this, Maya, in partnership with Caring Hands Clinic, have established testing centers in all their municipal airports. Caring Hands Antigen Test Center is operational in San Pedro, Belize City, Dangriga, Placencia, and Hopkins. These testing facilities are staffed by licensed healthcare professionals, including doctors, registered nurses, and nurse practitioners. Testing is done using Abbott rapid test devices that are FDA approved and made in the USA. The service is safe, fast, affordable, and the close proximity of the centers makes them convenient. Walk-ins are welcomed, but appointments are encouraged. If you would like to make an appointment, please feel free to do so at Make your appointment, get tested, and in 15 minutes, you can get back to your vacation.
Want to leave a lasting impact when you travel? Then travel locally. Make memories to treasure for a lifetime while making a difference. Make protected areas your next travel destination. With over 25 protected areas under the APAMO umbrella, the possibilities for adventure and education are endless. You can bond with friends and family while trekking through the jungles to discover natural pools and breathtaking views. Or take that snorkeling trip to the magnificent world of coral gardens and marine life. Then camp under the stars to end off that perfect day in nature. By visiting protected areas, you are helping to preserve valuable plant and animal life. You're building local communities and you're keeping our natural and cultural heritage alive. You have that power. Travel locally and make an impact. We invite you to visit a protected area near you and discover the beauty of Belize's wild places. APAMO, the voice of Belize's protected areas.
The initial phase of a two-part rollout for students and teachers to return to their respective classrooms is underway, and the Ministry of Education has given the go-ahead for 55 schools to reopen by April 19th. This morning, News 5 visited several schools, including kindergarten, primary, and secondary levels, to witness firsthand the preparations that are being made ahead of the resumption of classes. News 5's Isani Caetano reports.
The reopening of some schools a little over a year after being abruptly closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic is a measured step in the right direction. After so long, it has become necessary for students to receive face-to-face instructions, despite the dangers of the dreaded disease. On Wednesday morning, a little over 170 students from 1st to 4th form will return to Edward P. York High School, and all arrangements are being put in place for them to do so safely.
First of all, the return to school is optional. We chose to bring back mainly our students that were failing, were not doing well. We looked at their grades first term, we looked at their grades second term, and if they were not where we wanted them to be, they're the students coming back. And again, it is even optional for the parents to send them.
Around campus, final preparations are underway for students to remain physically distant, as well as for them to practice proper hand hygiene in and outside of their classrooms. That includes floor markers being placed at equal distance. The reopening, nonetheless, means that additional steps also need to be taken at the administrative level.
We have a system set up where there will be 11 adults on the campus, 8 teachers and 3 administrators every day. So the teachers get to rotate, and they will literally have in their classrooms in front of them 9 to 10 kids in a room. And those kids are there with their devices, all connected to the internet, and they will be doing their respective work, and the teacher is there to monitor that it is being done.
Across town at Wesley Lower School, teachers are also busy preparing ahead of next Monday's start. Of the 361 students enrolled here, a recent poll indicates that 90% of the population is ready to come back.
On Friday, we got a visit from the Ministry of Education, and they came in to do the routine inspection with the checklist that they had previously sent to us, and we have been given the green light. So we are now ready to open, and our scheduled date to open is April 19th, which is Monday.
Wesley is one of 6 primary schools in Belize District to have received the approval of the Ministry of Education to proceed with reopening, doing so at the end of the academic year.
So the teachers came in and they are putting in the 3 feet social distancing in their classroom in terms of where the kids should be seating. They're getting together, they're cleaning supplies and all the activities, the pre-assessment that they will be given on Monday throughout the entire week for next week. They're getting together their procedures, their routines and so forth. Everything that you would normally do on a Monday in September, that's what we'll be doing on April 19th.
While those classrooms are yet to see any activity, over at Lloyd Coffin Preschool, kindergartners are already engaged in learning. Monday was their first day of school and their teachers were all ready to meet them.
We reduced our numbers so that we didn't have to have shifts. So we have 40 students coming in the morning at this moment and 32 in the afternoon. I have 4 teachers, and that's divided by 10. The measures that we took to have our babies back in school, we had to change all our tables and made them circles so that we could have 4 children around a table. We had to do the markers for them to know where to stand. We installed basins in the different classrooms and outside.
What has it been like for the past 2 days? I know it's almost a year, if not a little bit over a year, since you guys were last in the classroom administering lessons.
It was a joyous time for us to have our babies actually back in our classroom with us. We were kind of skeptical, wondering how they would adjust after being home, but it went very well.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isana Cayetano.
Chief Executive Officer Diane Mejia told News 5 earlier today that the Ministry of Education has approved 55 pre-primary, primary and secondary schools for reopening in the first phase. With interest being generated among other schools, that list continues to grow as preparations get underway for Phase 2, which begins May 10th.
Between the course of Monday, April 12th and Monday, April 19th, we are going to be having all these 55 schools come back in. They're happy, it's phasing in little by little, right? They're starting. And from the accounts that we have heard, yesterday was a good day. We are not anticipating, as we had explained before, students, we won't have full sessions, 8 to 3 every day, Monday to Friday for all students. They are starting, and the schools have different schedules. So some are staggering days, some are staggering morning and afternoon sessions, but we are starting, and that is the important thing. Yes, we are continuing now the monitoring and the working with those schools who are part of the April 12th group. We're considering them our Phase 1. And we have a second group now. We actually had, so far, we have had close to 225 applications, right? So those 61 now, they're working. The 6 who didn't qualify or they didn't get approval right away, it was for different reasons, and they have just transferred to May 10th, right? So we're now looking at the remainder of the schools, and to be honest, applications are still coming in for May 10th. So the district centers are now conducting those verification visits.
According to CEO Mejia, contingency plans are in place at the school and district-wide levels in the event that there is a spike in COVID-19 cases. When we return, find out how you can reach out across the Caribbean Sea and help the victims of La Soufrière's volcanic eruption. Don't go away.
Nation, rain or shine, any weather. When we go ball, we go Berger. Quality paint, no faded colors. When we go ball, we go Berger. Let your imagination run free. Any color for this space, when we say ball, that mean it don't peel. Quality in every color, lifetime guarantee. When we go ball, we go Berger. When we go ball, we go Berger. Rain or shine, any color you need. When we go ball, we go Berger.
Why, Tony?
Boy, kid, what you going on, man?
We actually come see you because I need to buy a stack of them plastic plates and cups for my grocery shop because I run low.
Boy, I stopped importing that thing since April 15th, you know. And I just routed the last batch, must be about like 3 weeks back, you know.
Man, do I usually have that thing? What are you going on?
Check this, right? That's a new law, we ban all single-use plastics, so that the cups, plates, forks, spoons, and knives, all of that. Since April 15th, can't import none of them. Starting January 15, 2021, you can't manufacture them. April 15, 2021, you can't sell them. And after July 14, 2021, if you get catch with any other thing, you will get fined.
Me never know this. I guess I have to make some changes then. I have to make the customers know that anything not available. Anyways, bro. Thanks, man.
No problem, man. Take care.
Currently, we're using Smart Elite VoIP calling plan. We use it interbranch, we use it to call outside, and we also use it to call international. It's far cheaper than what we used to have before. Our equipment, our new PBX box is new. So the PBX is very good because I can call to my Sartania branch, I can call to my Kikaka branch, I can call to San Pedro branch, and there's no cost using the PBS. Actually, right now, since we're in different locations, I can call main office from where I am at a no cost using the PBX system. I would recommend it, sure I would, especially the big enterprises who has a lot of employees. There's a lot of reduction in costs, 50% of saving. But that on a year, it's a lot of money that we're saving. Money that we could return to our members since we give back dividend to our members.
Visit our showroom or call 670-6710 to find out how Smart's corporate plan and PBX systems can benefit your business. Consultation is free.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
If you've been watching the international news, you're surely aware of the natural disaster unfolding in the Caribbean island of St. Vincent with the La Soufrière eruption. For those who would like to help, the Belize Red Cross has launched its appeal for funds for the Red Cross and Red Crescent emergency response operations for the victims. Simultaneously, the government of Belize is also encouraging people to donate to the islanders in need through the Red Cross as well. News 5 spoke to Lily Bowman, the organization's Director General.
I would just like to express how pleased we are that the government of Belize, the Prime Minister, endorsed their trust in the Red Cross by making that call, and of course the work that we do as an organization in our country as well as regionally and internationally. We ourselves have launched an official appeal giving all the information about the bank accounts. There are 3 bank accounts that we are going to be asking donors to use for these purposes. La Soufrière, the volcano that erupted in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is not only affecting that country, but is also affecting neighboring countries like Barbados, St. Lucia, Dominica, and even Grenada to a certain extent. We are also aware of the, at least the last count was some 20,000 persons that have been relocated or displaced, and over 3,500 people in shelters, and this number is increasing. So there is a great need to assist this country as they did our country last year for the floods. As usual, the donations can be brought to our headquarters or any of our branches in the country. But they can also visit any heritage bank throughout the country and deposit to account number 108-2665. The Belize Bank Limited, and their account number is a very long number, and I will still say it here. It's 135648010012001. And the newly formed Belize Bank Corporation Limited, which was formerly the Scotia Bank Belize Limited, and that number is 914-1645. I know that it is hard to remember these account numbers, but we ask that you just ask for the Belize Red Cross Disaster Appeal account, and that will be easier. And to please give generously.
The government of Belize has spoken out in solidarity and pledged a contribution of $50,000 to the government and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to aid in the relief efforts. Belize is also committed to providing humanitarian resources to help with the disaster response plan on the ground. In January, a team of researchers from the Toledo Institute for Development and Environment, TIDE, was stopped by members of the Guatemalan Armed Forces from conducting scientific studies within the area of the Sapodilla Keys Marine Reserve, known as Corona Reef. The incident sparked public outrage because the location in question spans the maritime boundaries of Belize and Guatemala. On April 7th, the Ministry of the Blue Economy issued a joint statement along with the Belize Fisheries Department and TIDE, stating that while the area is underrepresented as a marine protected area, it is an important natural environment for fish spawning and aggregation. Activists Giovanni Brackett and Will Mejia are up in arms, arguing that Corona Reef and the Sapodilla Keys Marine Reserve are both in Belize's territorial waters, and there is no need to obtain Guatemalan cooperation to study it.
First of all, if you recall, TIDE researchers were aggressed by the Guatemalan Armed Forces back in January. Now, myself, with many Belizeans, including Will, we were very vociferous over the social media. I even called the talk shows to express my discontent with what happened. But what has transpired in this latest press release from the Blue Economy and with joint press release with the fisheries along with TIDE in collaboration with this Guatemalan NGO to share research over Belize's portion of the Corona Reef system and this Guatemalan NGO will do supposedly their section. Now that is ludicrous, because when you look at the EEZ data, as I've quoted in the press release, is that they were unable to even point out or show any transboundary or any of the reef system in Guatemala. There are two senior experts quoted in the press release who have gone on the record as well to state that no section of the reef is in, or the Zapadilla or the Corona Reef is in Guatemala. If that is the case, then whosoever wants to believe that can pick up a brochure and go snorkel down in Guatemala.
As far as the Corona Reef is concerned, I have no objection of Belize collaborating with Guatemala or Honduras in doing research, but they must understand that this reef is inside Belize's territory. I believe that the precedent was set when the area was declared a marine reserve, and there was no objection from Guatemala at that time when this area was declared a marine reserve. I understand that Guatemala has also declared a part of their waters as a marine reserve. I just believe that we have to educate our people, the Belizean people, as to the extent of the Zapadilla Keys Marine Reserve and what it entails, which it entails the Corona Reef. I think that researchers have proven that their Corona Reef is inside Belize's territory.
Just ahead, the dispute over ancestral communal lands in southern Belize. But first, here is the weather forecast with data from the Belize Met Service.
The contamination of water we all depend on is a very urgent issue. As Belize's popularity and industries grow, challenges increase. In this episode, we will examine the issue of water pollution in Belize. Water pollution is the contamination of water bodies, usually because of human activities. Water bodies include lagoons, rivers, aquifers, and oceans. On the marine side, the discharge of sewage and bilge water from cruise ships and other live-aboard vessels, in combination with unregulated development of coastal areas, has led to the degradation of marine ecosystems such as mangroves and coral reefs. Our inland waters are facing their own challenges. As agricultural development increases, pesticides, fertilizers, and waste products are running off into rivers. Increased river traffic from boat tours and sugar barges adds to the already stressful conditions of the freshwater ecosystems. In addition, companies that collect sewage sometimes dump the waste right into the waterways. Additionally, in densely populated areas like Belize City and Orange Walk, poor sewage designs result in the contamination of groundwater and of water bodies by both sewage and wash water. In many cases, homes and businesses dump their wastewater directly into drains, which leads to rivers and the sea. Wastewater, detergents, and petroleum collect in drains that empty into waterways, such as the New River and the Belize River. This, along with the runoff and discharges from the agricultural and industrial businesses, have been inadequately monitored and enforced. The answers to overcoming water pollution issues are fourfold: improved infrastructure, adequate treatment, increased legislation and monitoring, and of course, changing our habits for the better. While it is urgent that better management on a policy level is needed, there are a few things we can do at home to help. Ensure proper treatment systems are installed for all wastewater at your home and business. Don't dispose of oil from your automobiles or cooking and household detergents down the drain. And lastly, minimize the usage of chemicals and fertilizers and report any dumping into waterways to the Department of the Environment. The government has recognized the threat of inadequate liquid waste management and is working toward goals of reducing and reversing its effects. For more information on what's being done about water pollution and ways you can help, Visit our website at doe.gov.bz. I'm Alison Castillo, and now you know.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
2020 taught us the importance of being connected to the virtual world, and NextGen is here to keep its commitment to you. Even if you're physically apart, NextGen keeps you digitally connected.
Okay everyone, thank you for following me today.
NextGen provides more than just an internet plan. They provide service plans that support all your online needs. Sign up today and get your NextGen's ultra high-speed internet service. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
The first Garifuna settlement in Belize was established back in November of 1802. But now, there are challenges to the communal lands settled by the ancestors in southern Belize. Added to that are the changing attitudes towards being tied to the land by the younger generation. News 5's reporter Paul Lopez looks at the Garinago community's centuries-old fight to find a place of their own.
The Garinago, or Garifuna people, make up some 6% of Belize's population, accounting for approximately 24,000 Belizeans. Belizean Garinago, for the most part, occupy land in the southern part of the country, but below the surface of their modernization in Belize, the Garifuna people may in some ways still be fighting a battle for land that dates back to the early 16th century.
You might know about the Black Carib Wars, or you've heard about the Black Carib Wars. Well, we were the Black Caribs. That's the name the British gave us. But traditionally, from then we were Garinago. And we had to fight to keep our land. And that fight lasted over 5 years. That war lasted over 5 years. And that's how far we would go to fight for what we own.
Following that war, approximately 5,000 Garinagos were exiled to Roatan, an island off the coast of Honduras.
Yesterday was 224 years since we landed in Roatan from that exile. From March 11th to April 12th. It was not voluntary. We did not go willfully or happily, but we were forced.
While some Garinago decided to remain in Roatan, others made their way inland to Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, and Belize. On November 19, 1802, the first group of Garinago arrived in Belize. At the time, the Garinago people were primarily fishermen, farmers, and hunters.
The land for us as Garinagos is very important because that's part of our livelihood. When we were in St. Vincent, in Honduras, and in Belize, we eat what we plant. So it's very important, and it becomes more important now with the economy situation that we're going through at this time. Food going up, cost of living going up. So it's very important that we have land that we can use to work, to plant cassava, to plant yams and planting to provide for our family. And as part of being Garifuna, we share with our neighbors and our family.
Recently, predominantly Garinago communities like Georgetown, St. Bites, and Barranco have been faced with challenges to the original border markings established by their ancestors. The latest of these comes out of the Barranco village, where the indigenous Mayas of Midway are reportedly developing land Barranco residents claim.
Midway, the villagers of Midway, the Midway Village Council chairman, is using the CCJ consent order to intimidate the villagers of Barranco. And while they are also they are getting closer and closer and using lands that's off of Barranco. But the Barranco villagers can't get anywhere near their village. But history know it, that Midway is on Barranco farmland. And I think that there should be some level of respect there.
Miranda George says villagers in Barranco are seeking to amicably resolve that issue. Simultaneously, the National Garifuna Council has launched an agriculture project which seeks to define and map out land that the first Garinago farmed in Belize.
We're working with that on all our Garifuna communities, which are down south. That's Dangriga. Mainly we are working with Hopkins, Georgetown, St. Bite, Barranco, and we have Punta Gorda and Dangriga. And at the end of that project, then we have phase 2 to that project, where it will be to approach government and give them our findings.
As the struggle to control the land continues, this question also arises. Is the next generation of Garinago in a position to continue cultivating the land that their ancestors established in southern Belize? Many of the Garinago women who once worked the fields are now off to school and employed outside of their communities.
As a young Garifuna woman, I feel that our relationship with the land has completely changed. We as Garifuna, we change along with the times. So most of the women now are not depending on the men like we did when we just arrived. And we're now geared towards being educated and providing for our family. It's no longer the sense of having a man as the head of the household as it was back then. Back in those times, the men would have been one of the main providers, and the women would go into the farm and to work the land.
Reporting for News 5, I am Paul Lopez.
On March 30th, the Commissioner of Indigenous Affairs, Greg Chalk, met with leaders of Barranco and Midway villages to discuss an amicable solution to the land conflict between these two communities. Reports coming out of that meeting indicate that Midway leaders presented a proposal to the leaders of Barranco for the establishment of a mutually agreed-to borderline. Barranco is expected to present a counter-proposal at an upcoming meeting. And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at News 5 Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.